Wilderness Survival has launched its new season, and it might be the toughest yet. 12 past champions are back, braving the snow-covered mountains at -30 degrees. Believe it or not, they even stripped down to their underwear. By the second day, after a night of freezing winds, most teams hadn't slept a wink, huddled under their furs, shivering. The Kai team still managed to laugh, thanks to their well-built shelter. Early in the morning, Kai and Gary went hunting. Kai caught a whiff of musk, and Gary, puzzled, asked why she could smell it when they were both women. Maybe it was a special skill. They began scouting the area. With limited daylight, their hunting window was short. Soon, they stumbled upon a fresh pile of animal droppings that looked oddly tempting. Gary, following the scent, joined in. They examined it closely but didn't dare suggest eating it. It turned out to be bear scat, likely from a black or brown bear. While not magical, it could stave off hunger. Just when they thought the bear scat was surprising enough, they spotted something even more alarming: bear tracks in the snow nearby. There were numerous bear tracks, causing Gary and Kai's hearts to race. The tracks were alarmingly close to their shelter, indicating bears had been nearby. Judging by the footprints, it seemed to be a family of 3 bears out for a stroll, and bears on a stroll have a very good appetite. Kai thought they should carry long spears for protection next time, or they might not survive. Both Kai and Gary grew nervous. Meanwhile, Vaz and Jack were still huddled in their sleeping bags, reluctant to get up. Sarah looked outside. It was snowing heavily and extremely cold. The shelter wasn't fully built yet, and snow kept falling inside. Snow continued to fall into the shelter. Despite being a team of 2 men and 1 woman, Vaz and Jack refused to hunt, leaving everyone huddled inside. Jack believed he could survive 14 days without food and water, but Sarah's uncle needed to eat before sleeping. Vaz admired Sarah and kept urging him to find food. They made shoes from fur. Mornings were bitterly cold, warming only by noon. Jack built a stone fireplace to radiate heat and make the shelter warmer. To make the shelter warmer, they used stones to block and reflect the heat from the fire. Rod's group was incredibly lazy. 2 men and an old lady were supposed to be surviving, but now it's just Jeremy and Rod doing the work while the old lady sleeps, waiting for the prize money. Rod had severe back pain and kidney issues, making survival in the snowy mountains tough for him. He went out to fart and then went back to lie down. Jeremy was chopping wood to make a fire for warmth, but his teammates were just there to sleep. Jeremy really disliked this. 5 years ago, he and his teammates were surviving in the Philippines, but he quit because he couldn't stand the hardship. Ever since he got home, he had been regretting it. Now that he's back in the wild, he feels he must prove himself. This time, he won't back down because of difficulties. He plans to hunt in the west, but Jeremy has a weak constitution, especially in this cold. His feet freeze easily. He takes his bow and arrow, looking for beavers, while Jeremy stays behind, waiting for winter food to become scarce. He hears something, a beaver foraging nearby. He slowly approaches, takes aim, but his shot is way off. This frustrates him so much that his back starts hurting. The West tribe has already gone out hunting. At least they aren't lying around in the shelter all day. The weather is freezing, and West feels they must continue improving their shelter, or their old bones won't make it. Jermaine maintains the fire inside the shelter, while collecting wood is one of their most crucial tasks. They rely on burning wood to stay warm at night. Why don't they build a large stone wall to reflect heat back into their sleeping area? It would be much more efficient. The winter wind is dry, and Jermaine is extremely thirsty. He takes a metal pot outside to gather snow. Jermaine takes a metal pot outside to gather snow for boiling water. It's freezing, and his butt feels like it's turning to ice. After collecting the snow, he rushes back to boil it. The cold severely affects him. In such extreme conditions, blood vessels constrict, reducing thirst but increasing urination, which can lead to unnoticed dehydration. Once the water is ready, they eagerly drink it, as it's the only thing that can warm them up. Their shelter is cramped, and everyone just sits around waiting for nightfall. Why not go out and improve the shelter for a more comfortable sleep? At night, the temperature plummets, and Wes is so cold he can't sleep. The fire in the pit is too small to keep them warm. Wes was so cold he started vomiting. Vomiting is manageable, but diarrhea would mean his teammates carrying him back home overnight. By the 3rd day, Wes felt extremely unwell. Maybe it was the freezing weather. His old bones just couldn't handle it. They just sat in the shelter, doing nothing. Is this what wilderness survival is supposed to be? It should be called wilderness suffering. Both Lacey and Jermaine were feeling unwell, leaving only Sarah to fetch water. She noticed a lot of snow algae on the ground, which appears when the snow melts. Maybe Wes drank this water yesterday, causing his vomiting. Snow algae can spread viruses. It's all Jermaine's fault for being too lazy, using snow to boil water when there was a stream right next to them. They're now depending on water to curb their hunger. In this freezing environment, lacking protein makes them feel even colder. After drinking, Wes felt much better. Meanwhile, on Wes's side, Yesterday, they improved the stone wall, and the extra heat made a noticeable difference. Storing that heat would be even better, which can be done by sealing the shelter well. Today, they plan to keep enhancing the shelter. Sarah will perfect the bedding, Vass will work on the shelter, and Jack will hunt for food. They gathered many reed stalks to make their bedding more comfortable. Sarah, who fears the cold, focuses on improving the shelter's interior, ensuring the two men sleep more comfortably at night. Sarah is seen by Vaz as merely playing a supporting role. Breakfast is just water. Vaz and Jack went hunting, hoping to catch something. Meanwhile, Jeremy from the Rod team got up early to hunt. In the cold, body fat helps regulate temperature, burning nearly 400 calories per hour. Without protein, they'll lose weight quickly. Jeremy searched the shore for rabbits or fish, but had to return periodically to warm up. His family doubted he'd last 7 days, but he's determined to make it to 14. Tracy was warming herself by the fire in the shelter. Rod had been lying down since the first day due to back pain, seemingly hoping to win by doing nothing. Rod's back had always been an issue, which he suspected was due to kidney deficiency. Now, he just lay in the shelter, unwilling to get up unless there was meat to eat. He knew Tracy would keep talking non-stop. In past challenges, his teammate Amber had disliked him for his constant chatter. Now, he faced the same situation. Waking up and lying down, the Kai team, made up of 2 women and 1 man, turns out to be the hardest working group. Joe is thrilled because the 2 girls are very proactive, while he is as weak as a worm. He plans to rely on Gary and Kai to carry him through. Joe's poor health worries Gary. They search for prey nearby, and Joe spots rabbit tracks. Following the tracks, Gary soon sees the rabbit. If they can catch it, they'll have a feast of roasted meat tonight. But they only have a machete. A bow and arrow would have been better. A bow and arrow might have been better. Joe picks up a stone, aims, and throws it, but the rabbit escapes. It's really a pity because they don't have proper hunting tools. Now they regret not bringing a bow and arrow. Jeremy has been out looking for prey and finds bird feathers on the ground. Had he found it sooner, he might have gotten some scraps to eat. Squatting and panting, he felt unwell and feverish, likely from a cold. Eventually, he couldn't walk. The cameraman quickly asked what was wrong. As his breathing worsened, the cameraman wanted to call a doctor, but he refused, not wanting to go home. For his safety, the doctor came anyway. Jeremy was still upset, but the doctor asked him to sit for an examination. After some basic questions, the doctor advised more water and protein. Overall, his condition was still good. In the end, Jeremy chose to stay and continue the challenge. Jermaine had to go out and gather firewood. It was freezing, and despite his size, he shivered like a little girl. He came back with just 2 branches. Though big, he was terrified of the cold, and Jeremy worried his toes might get frostbitten. This group was basically done for. Jermaine was useless, Wes was old, and Sarah, though strong, wouldn't hunt. They relied on fire and water to survive. Sarah kept modifying the fur to keep them warm, and only the 2 cows at home weren't afraid of the cold. Only then do they have a chance to hunt for food. Sarah proves to be quite useful. You'd never guess that someone as big as Jermaine would be so afraid of his but getting cold. It's like he's brought shame to Africans in the Arctic. His but is the first thing he wants to keep warm. Vaz and Jack have been scouring the forest for prey, craving protein. In this freezing weather, they're dreaming of a roasted meal. They spotted a rabbit and prepared to hunt it, but unfortunately, they missed. Still, it was their first attempt. Even though they missed the rabbit, they weren't too disappointed. They found some wild berries instead, which, despite tasting like cardboard, can provide vitamin C. They picked them to avoid starving. Meanwhile, Sarah was busy improving the mattress in the shelter, making it much warmer for the night. When Vaz and Jack returned and saw the upgraded mattress, they were impressed. Looking good, looks great.
Looks
yeah, that's
great,
completed
yeah.
for now.
That's
Sarah
completed
felt
for
very
now.
touched by their approval. Back at the shelter, they felt much more comfortable. If only they could have some rabbit roast now, they would sleep even better. At night, Sarah still felt very cold, so they covered themselves with fur and huddled inside. On the 4th day, Joe went out early to collect wood. He felt extremely cold, his body trembling non-stop, which made him very tired. He didn't get much work done, as all his energy was spent on shivering to keep warm. After working for just a minute, he said he needed to rest. But Joe is the only boy in this group, so Kai and Gary had to pamper him and bring him back to the shelter to rest. The girls went out to hunt and work, while Joe seemed to have 2 assistants helping him survive. During the day, the assistants worked, but not at night. They found many waterfowl and edible grasses, which provided some vitamins. Gary collected some and brought them back. Finding something to eat was better than going hungry. It started snowing again, and the weather got even colder. The way back with the vegetable soup was tough, but the girls didn't complain. Joe was shivering in the shelter, feeling like his body was constantly burning energy. Slowly, he collapsed onto the ground. Heavy snow began to fall outside the shelter, but Gary and Kai were still out. When they returned, they called out, "Is the small fire still big?" Inside, Joe was sweating profusely and seemed to have fainted. This was really bad. He was sweating, but his hands and feet were cold. Luckily, he was just very uncomfortable and hadn't passed out. Gary and Kai were very worried. Although Joe wasn't very useful, he could warm the bed at night. In this weather, having one more teammate is better than having one less. Joe mentioned this had happened before, and Kai immediately realized it was because of the mink fur. His body was so weak, like a delicate young master. Gary used the wild vegetables they had gathered to make a pot of soup. It tasted alright, and at least it filled their stomachs and warmed them up. Meanwhile, Jack continued searching for food outside. He found a stream and tried breaking the ice with a stick, hoping to catch some fish for protein. Overall, it was quite solid. Most of the stream was frozen. If they could catch a beaver or trout, it would be even better. Jack planned to block the water flow, which would gather the fish, making fishing much easier. But the ice on top was very unsafe. He collected a lot of wood and threw it into the water to block it, staying there for a while. He felt very cold and needed to go back to warm up, and he called Vaz to prepare for fishing. He placed 2 stones on the ground to mark whether the water was accumulating. When he returned, Vaz came along, and they found the stones were gone, meaning the water had started accumulating. Sarah also came out to watch the excitement. Blocking the stream worked well, and the water level was significantly higher. They could see trout under the water from the shore. What they did today gave them hope. The cold wasn't scary. What was scary was having no food at dawn. They were imitating the beavers' method, using wood to block the water flow. They collected a lot of wood and blocked the water flow completely. If the beavers saw this, they would definitely curse them for being mean. But to catch fish, they couldn't care less. Vaz believed he could definitely catch a fish. On the 5th day, Rod's group woke up early, with an old lady sandwiched between 2 men. Although it was very crowded, the old lady was smiling happily. Rod kept farting, and they didn't get up until noon. Rod planned to go out to find food, while Jeremy and Tracy sat in the shelter panting, perhaps knocked out by Rod's farts. Rod planned to hunt by the river, hoping to catch something to eat. Jeremy was happy to see Rod finally stand up. Given his history of complaining about back pain and taking 5 days off before doing any work, it was crucial for Rod to contribute. Otherwise, the old lady would starve. Spotting a beaver by the river, Rod decided to set a trap, hoping to secure food. Despite the strong wind and his aching back, he quickly assembled the trap, testing it repeatedly until it was set. His back pain was excruciating, making him feel like he couldn't go on, and his work efficiency was worse than the old lady's. He stood there, trying to ease his back pain, almost in tears from exhaustion. The pain made him sad because he didn't want to abandon his teammates. Rod returned to the shelter to explain his condition. His back might be seriously injured, and he might not be able to continue. Despite Jeremy and Tracy's offer to take care of him, he decided to quit to avoid holding them back. The show crew confirmed his decision and took him away. Before leaving, Rod set up a hunting trap, hoping to provide food for his team. After Rod left, their team lost another labor force, and now they mainly relied on Jeremy. Wes's situation wasn't much better. His teammate Jermaine was afraid of the cold, and Wes was an old man. The temperature at night was very low, and everyone was afraid because it was really too cold. What surprises will they bring us next? Stay tuned for the next episode.